It's day 11 of my 12 days of Christmas recipes with spilling the sweet tea, and today we're making braised short ribs. To start your short ribs, you just want to cut up your veggies. I'm just going to chop up 2 small onions. And yes, y'all, I am using a cutting board. My cutting board is acrylic. I know you can't see it from this angle, but my cutting board is see-through. I get so many comments with people thinking I'm actually cutting on my countertop, and I'm not. You do not have to cut these onions uniform. You don't have to cut them small. They are just going to be discarded after you make your short ribs. I'm literally just using them for flavor. So however big or small you want to cut them up is up to you. I'm cutting them up pretty big. Some people put celery in their short ribs. I'm not going to use celery. I'm just going to use onions as well as some carrots, shallots, and garlic. So I have some rainbow carrots that I got from Wegmans. You could just use orange carrots. It doesn't matter. I just happened to see these rainbow carrots and decided to grab them. I'm just going to chop up about 4 rainbow carrots. I really didn't have to peel these, but I did anyway. It's just something in me that I said, girl, go ahead and peel these carrots. You don't know where they been. So once I peeled my carrots, all I did was just cut them up into pretty large pieces. Like I said, I'm going to discard my vegetables, so I don't need to worry about the size of the carrots. I don't know. These rainbow carrots just hit different. They're so pretty. I love the colors of them. I think that's why I grabbed these over just plain orange carrots. But if you don't see rainbow carrots in your grocery store, just use regular carrots. It's not going to matter. I'm a garlic girls. I'm going to use 1 head of garlic in my short ribs. Now, if you watched the shorter version of my video on TikTok and Instagram, you heard me talk about how high these short ribs are. 3 short ribs was $33. Now, these were boneless short ribs, but still $33 for 3 pieces of meat is crazy to me. But what you want to do to make them is to season all sides with kosher salt and cracked black pepper. And when I say all sides, I mean every single side. You want to make sure you're seasoning every side because you're going to want to sear each side to make sure it has a nice crust on it. If your short ribs have a nice crust on them, they'll have lots and lots of flavor. Kosher salt seems to work really well with short ribs, so if you could use kosher salt, please do. These short ribs are pretty thick, so you want to liberally apply kosher salt to each side. These short ribs did not come out salty at all. I have this electric pepper grinder, but if you don't have this, just use ground black pepper. But honestly, you should grab one of these because freshly ground black pepper just hits different. Trust me. You're also going to need a Dutch oven for this recipe. So just add a little bit of oil to your Dutch oven, avocado or olive oil. It doesn't matter. You want to cut your stove to about a 7 and make sure your oil is nice and hot before you add in your short ribs. You're not going to cook them here. All you want is a nice sear on each side of your short ribs. It should look a little bit like this. The key to getting a nice sear is making sure you don't overcrowd your pot. These short ribs are pretty big, so I only put in 3 at a time. So you want to sear these in batches. Because baby, when you do, your sear looks like that. Look at that crust on these short ribs. Absolutely beautiful. You really want to take your time to make sure you're getting a good sear on each side. Having a good sear on both sides of your short ribs will definitely build flavor in your dish. It may look like the pot is burnt, but it's not. That's just flavor, baby. I only made about 6 or 7 short ribs for my dinner, so it didn't take me too long to sear all of them. Once you remove them and set them aside, you want to add in your chopped carrots, your chopped onions. Off camera, I chopped up a shallot, and I'm also going to add in some sprigs of thyme and rosemary and my garlic. Once you add your veggies to your pot, you just want to season them with kosher salt, some cracked black pepper, as well as some garlic powder. I'm just showing you guys what I use. You can season them with whatever you want. But with beef, I like to keep my seasonings pretty simple. Now all you want to do is give your veggies a good mix to make sure all of the seasoning gets on all of the veggies and allow them to cook down for a little bit. Once the veggies have softened a little bit, you want to add 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce and then 2 teaspoons of tomato paste. The tomato paste is really going to help add flavor to the sauce and also going to give you that rich color in your gravy at the end. You'll notice at the bottom of my pan, once I start moving around these veggies a little bit, the flavor from the seared short ribs starts lifting from the bottom of the Dutch oven. And baby, that flavor is going right into those vegetables. I know you're going to discard the vegetables before you make the sauce, but look how pretty these rainbow carrots are in this pot. So beautiful. I used red cooking wine in my short ribs. I used a whole bottle of red cooking wine that you find at the grocery store. If you have a bottle of red wine at home, you can just add in 2 cups of any red wine. I only had red cooking wine in my pantry. I didn't have any red wine because I honestly don't drink it. I only drink white. So baby, I use what I had. You can use 2 cups of dry red wine if you want. The next thing you want to add is 1 whole carton of beef broth. Once you add in your whole carton of beef broth, you just want to return the lid onto the Dutch oven and allow everything to simmer for a little bit. Once everything has simmered, you just want to add in your short ribs that have been seared into your pot. Baby, just gently nestle them down into that sauce. Make sure they are lost in the sauce and swimming at the bottom of that pot. Don't forget the juice from the short ribs, that's flavor. Now you want to add in your whole head of garlic, 2 to 3 sprigs of rosemary, and about 5 to 6 sprigs of thyme. You also need 2 bay leaves. Cover up your pot and put it in your oven on 350 degrees for about 2.5 hours or until your short ribs are nice and tender. I would poke each one of them because short ribs come in different sizes. Some are smaller and some are bigger. So you want to make sure they are fork tender because nothing is worse than biting into some beef that is still not tender enough. The smaller pieces with a little bit of fat on them, they cook a lot quicker. And that's it. Your short ribs are done. Now we have to just remove all of these veggies and make our gravy. So I'm just using this strainer that I have to get the carrots and the whole garlic up out of my pot, as well as those fresh herbs. Once you have everything removed, you just want to skim the fat off of the sauce, just like this. If you have a little bit remaining, it's okay, but try to get the bulk of the fat out of the gravy because baby, nobody wants any oily gravy. Once you've done that, you can just simmer it for a little bit longer. I personally didn't want a thicker gravy. You can add cornstarch if you want a thicker gravy, but this consistency worked really well for me. Once I got my gravy like I wanted it, I just added my short ribs back into the pot. I then let them simmer in the pot for an additional 10 minutes while I got my mashed potatoes ready. And that's it. That's all. These short ribs were so good. They were so full of flavor and so tender. I just put them on a bed of just plain mashed potatoes and added the gravy on at the end, and that's it. One thing about these short ribs, baby, they cut just like butter. So, of course, they were spilling the sweet tea. Approved. Make sure to tune in to day 12 of my 12 days of Christmas recipes. Happy holidays.